Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our online reading retreat labs. So we were reading Srimad Bhagavatam, canto number 1. So in the last week, we have completed the chapter number 2. So now we are going to start with the chapter number 3. That is Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So let's then get started. Chapter 3, text number 1. So this entire chapter 3, we are having total, if I go to the last, we have 44 verses. So today we are going to start with the verse number 1 of chapter number 3. SB 1.3.1. So as usual, we'll be reading only the translation and the purport part. Sutta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material actions. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita states that the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, maintains these material universes by extending his plenary expansions. So, this Purusha form is the confirmation of the same principle. The original personality of Godhead, Vasudeva or Lord Krishna, who is famous as the son of King Vasudeva or King Nanda, is full with all opulences, all potencies, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. A part of his opulence is manifested as impersonal Brahman, and a part of his opulence is manifested as Paramatma. This Purusha feature of the same personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the original Paramatma manifestation of the Lord. There are three Purusha features in the material creation, and this form, who is known as the Karanadakshay Vishnu, is the first of the three. The others are known as the Garbhadakshay Vishnu and Kshiradakshay Vishnu, which we shall know one after another. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of Karanadakshay Vishnu, and in each one of the universes, the Lord enters as Garbhadakshay Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also mentioned that the material world is created at certain intervals and then again destroyed. This creation and destruction is done by the supreme will because of the conditioned souls or the Nityabadha living beings. The Nityabadha or the eternally conditioned souls have the sense of individuality or ahankara, which dictates to them sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. The Lord is the only enjoyer, and all others are enjoyed. The living beings are predominantly enjoyous, but the eternally conditioned souls, forgetful of this constitutional position, have strong aspirations to enjoy. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world, and side by side, they are given the chance to understand their real constitutional position. Those fortunate living entities who catch the truth and surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva after many, many births in the material world join the eternally liberated souls and thus are allowed to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. After this, such fortunate living entities need not come again within the occasional material creation, but those who cannot catch the constitutional truth are again merged into the Mahat Tattva at the time of the annihilation of the material creation. When the creation is again set up, this Mahat Tattva is again let loose. This Mahat Tattva contains all ingredients of the material manifestations, including the conditioned souls. Primarily, this Mahatattva is divided into 16 parts, namely 5 gross material elements, 11 working instruments or senses. It is like the cloud in the clear sky. In the spiritual sky, the effulgence of Brahman spread all around, and the whole system is dazzling in spiritual light. The Mahatattva is assembled in some corner of the vast, unlimited spiritual sky, and the part which is thus covered by the Mahatattva is called the material sky. This part of the spiritual sky, called the Mahatattva, is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky. And within this Mahatattva, there are innumerable universes. All these universes are collectively produced by Karanamachai Vishnu, called also the Mahavishnu, who simply throws his plans to impregnate the material sky. So now we will move to the next verse, SB 1.3.2. Translation. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts as a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. Purport. The first Purusha is the Karanodakshaya Vishnu. From his skin holes, innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purusha enters as the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He is lying within the half of the universe, which is full with the water of his body. And from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu has sprung the stem of the lotus flower, the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all living beings and the master of all the demigod engineers, engaged in the perfect design and working of the universal order. Within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Downwards from the earthly planetary system, there are seven lower planetary systems inhabited by the asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, there is an expansion of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the collective Paramatma of all living beings. He is called Hari, and from him, all incarnations within the universe are expanded. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Purusha Avatara is manifested in three features. First, the Karanodakshaya Vishnu, who creates aggregate material ingredients in the Mahatattva. Second, the Garbhodakshaya, who enters in each and every universe. And third, the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the Paramatma of every material object, organic or inorganic. One who knows these plenary features of the personality of Godhead knows Godhead properly, and thus the knower becomes free from the material conditions of birth, death, old age, and disease, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In this sloka, the subject matter of Mahavishnu is summarized. The Mahavishnu lies down in some part of the spiritual sky by his own free will. Thus, he lies on the ocean of Karana, from where he glances over his material nature, and the Mahatattva is at once created. Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. The seed of the tree is sown by the cultivator, and the tree or creeper in due course becomes manifested with so many fruits. Nothing can take place without a cause. The Karana ocean is therefore called the causal ocean. Karana. means casual. We should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. Description of the atheist is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The atheist doesn't believe in the creator, but he cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. Material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha. Just as a Prakriti or women cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or man. Karana means casual. We should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. The description of the atheist is given in Bhagavad Gita. The atheist doesn't believe in the creator, but he cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. Material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha, just as a Prakriti or women cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or a man. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti develops. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat, although they look like wristy nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha who impregnates Prakriti. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat, although they look like these nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power of material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha, who impregnates Prakriti or nature. Because the Lord wished to lie down in meditation, the material energy created innumerable universes at once. In each of them, the Lord lay down, and thus all the planets and the different paraphernalia were created at once by the will of the Lord. The Lord has unlimited potencies, and thus he can act as he likes by perfect planning, although personally he has nothing to do. No one is greater than or equal to him. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Now we will move to the next verse. Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse number 3, SB 1.3.3. Translation: It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence. Purport: The conception of the Virata Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. To him, a form means something of this material world, and therefore an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power extension of the Lord. As stated above, the Lord extends his potency in the form of the Mahatattva, which includes all material ingredients. The extension of power by the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense, but at the same time, the Mahatattva is different from the Lord. Therefore, the potency of the Lord and the Lord are simultaneously different and non-different. The conception of the Virata Rupa, especially for the impersonalist, is thus different and non-different. The conception of the Virata Rupa, especially for the impersonalist, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. This eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahatattva, and It is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is par excellence. The eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahatattva, and it is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is par excellence spiritual or transcendental to the modes. The very same transcendental form of the Lord is manifested by his internal potency, and the formation of his multifarious manifestations of incarnations is always of the same transcendental quality without any touch of the Mahatattva. Now we'll move to the next verse, SB 1.3.4, translation. The devotees, with their perfect eyes, see the transcendental form of the Purusa who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and adorned with garlands. Purport. With our present materialized senses, we cannot perceive anything of the transcendental Lord. Our present senses are to be rectified by the process of devotional service, and then the Lord Himself becomes revealed to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the transcendental Lord can be perceived only by pure devotional services. So it is in the Brahma Samhita also it says that the Lord is always visible to devotees whose eyes have been anointed with the tints of devotional service. So we have to take information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons. In the material world also, we do not always see things with our own eyes. We sometimes see through the experience of those who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process of experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and his different forms. He is formless, the neophytes, but it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. If that is the process of experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and its different forms. He is formless to the neophytes, but he is in transcendental form to the expert servitor. Now we will move to the next verse. Chapter number 3, verse number 5, SB 1.3.5. Translation. This form, the second manifestation of the Purusa, is a source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, man, and others are created. Purport. The Purusa, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahatattva, entered in each of them as a second Purusa, Garbhodaksha Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there is only darkness without a resting place, he filled up half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. He filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from Rajoguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from Rajaguna of the Prakriti, or the mode of passion in the nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is this already has already been explained. From Brahma, there is Rudra, Siva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Siva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many other become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. This Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of Garvastuti. This Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of Garvasuti, which begin with the description of the Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. The Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, is the super soul of the universal life, and he is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So the three features of the original Purusa are understood, and all the incarnation with the universe are emanations from this Kshirodaksha Vishnu. In the different millennia, there are different incarnations and they are innumerable. Although some of them are very prominent, such as Somasya, Kurma, Varaha, Rama, Rishi, Bhavana, and many others. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations, and there are qualitative incarnations, and as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who take care, who take charge of the different modes of material nature. Lord Vishnu is none different from the personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is in the marginal position between the personality of Godhead and living entities or jivas. Brahma is always a jiva tattva. The highest pious living being or the greatest devotee of the Lord is empowered with the potency of the Lord creation, and he is called Brahma. His power is like the power of the sun reflected in valuable stone and jewels. When there is no such living being, when there is no such living being to take charge of the past post of Brahma, the Lord Himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being, he is the plenary person of the Lord. But because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, he is not exactly in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between a milk and cord. Cord is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in place of milk. The next incarnations are the Manus within 1 day's duration of the life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar year as 43 lakhs multiplied by 1000 years. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are as follows: Agya or as Swayambhuva Manu, Vibhu as Swarisisa Manu, Satyasena as the Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasha Manu, Vaikuntra as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Chakshusha Manu, Vamana as Vaivashrata Manu. Present is under the Vaivashrata Manu. Savahoma as Bhavani Manu. The Manus who are prominent within the universe are as follows: Yagya as Swayambhuva Manu, Vibhu as Swarishchisa Manu, Satyasena as Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasa Manu, Vaikunta as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Krisha Manu, Vamana as Vaivashatu Manu. The present is under the Vaivashatu Manu. Sarvabhauma is Tavarnya Nimanu, Rishav as Daksha Sarvani Manu, Vishwaksena as Brahma Savaniman, Dharmasetu as Dharma Savani Manu, Sudama as Rudra Savani Manu, Yogeshwar as Dev, Sarvabhauma as Sarvani Manu, Savani Manu, Rasava as Daksha Sarvani Manu, Vishwakisha is Brahma Sarvani Manu, Dharmasetu is Dharma Savani Manu, Sudhama as Rudra Savani Manu, Yogeshwar as Deva Sarvani, and Brihad Bhanu as Indra Savarani Manu. These are names of the one set of 14 Manus covering for 30 crores solar years as described above. Then there are the Yuga avatars or the incarnations of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnations of this each Yuga are of different color. The colors are white and red, black and yellow. In the Dwapar Yuga, Lord Krishna in black color appeared, and in the Kali, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. So all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation, or an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastras. An incarnation doesn't declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures, the features of the incarnation and the particular type of mission which, apart from the direct incarnations, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations, but when they are indirectly empowered, such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations, but when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Sesha, Ananta, etc. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is the When they are directly empowered, they are called. So here the difference between vibhutis and incarnations have been given. So if it is a directly empowered, they are called incarnations, but when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Sesha, Ananda. As for the vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter, and for all the different directly empowered incarnations are called Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Sesha, Ananta, etc. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So just to summarize, we have read today total 5 verses of chapter number 3. So in the next session, we will start with the verse number 6. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.